Week 3 announcements, Summer Life Sciences. Good morning, Summer Life Science students. Mr. Eaton here. It's the beginning of week 3 already. Can you imagine that? We're at week 3, and I'm introducing the second lesson, actually, on the life of the cell. I hope you're all having a good summer so far and having a chance to plan some recreational activities. Some of you I know may have internships planned for this summer or other mission outreaches or other ministry types of activities, and that's great. It's a really good learning time. It's also a good time to be getting involved in some short and medium range projects, and I hope you'll have a chance to do that. Getting into this week, first of all, let me commend you, each of you. You're turning in assignments, and they're excellent so far. I'm really impressed with the quality of answers that people are giving. Some of you are really taking the time to give the kinds of answers that the course is really requiring. Some in-depth thought and some comprehensive thinking. I really am impressed, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the work you do in producing what you're doing, especially as you're learning. And I hope you're not just learning the rote facts and figures and the things that are being mentioned in the textbook, bearing in mind it is a secular text, and I know that sometimes we wrestle with some of the statements that are made or some of the concepts that are put forth, and that's good. I want you to wrestle with it. I don't want you to just blanketly accept anything. I want you to think it through. And to that end, this week, as we're exploring the cell, we'll be looking at a little bit of cell energetics. We'll be getting more into that next week, into the replication or duplication of cells, reproduction process, and some of the functions. But for this week, we're getting into specific cell functions, how energy is formed in the cell, but also how the cell looks. The cell is the basic building block of all living things. The molecule is the basic building block of all matter, but the cell is the smallest living article in a living organism, and so it's extremely important. You're going to be looking at cell organelles and how they function together to just make an incredibly complex, tiny functioning organism in the cell. But it's something that just marvels, it causes me to marvel at God's mind and his creative genius. You'll be looking at some of the ways in which cells grow, how they work together, how they allow molecules inside and how they expel molecules out. Yes, they do use vacuoles for expelling waste and taking in water, but there are other mechanisms, the ways in which they can create channels in the cell membrane for molecules to transport across. But on other types of molecules, depending on both their size and their nature, they have mechanisms such as with nerve cells, with potassium and things like potassium and sodium. When they need to transport across the cell membrane, they have to rub against the nerve cell to produce an electronic signal that tells the cell that it is a recognized molecule and to open up so that it can come in. Other times, proteins, little tiny proteins can create a shell and sometimes can fool a cell to create a channel for it when in fact it's housing a virus. And more on that as you get into the mechanisms. One of the things I've got put up this week in the announcements, and you'll see below this when I have this embedded in your into the announcements for this week. I want you to look down below at the dates that I've put in for the exams and also for the term paper. But also I want you to take a look at some of the resources that I've included for you this week online, some mostly YouTube, but they're produced by scholarly resources. I want you to do some research on your own, a little bit of going out onto the internet and seeing what you can find on different websites and do a little bit of evaluation on those things for what they are, how they work, how accurate they may or may not be, and be discerning in the way that you research different resources for different topics. I've included the Discovery Center on there, a video from them, and also their website. You can go check that out, Center for Science and Technology. They're very big on intelligent design, but they have a reason why they're going with intelligent design and not dealing so much with creation itself. There's a website from University of California, Berkeley. There's a website pulled up, a young woman who's a molecular biologist, and she produced a video on the cell theory, which was very interesting. So check some of those out. Have a good week. Enjoy what you're doing, but also don't hesitate to ask questions. Keep up the good work you're doing. And remember, we only have 10 weeks, so we're coming up on, we'll be looking at July 23rd as our very last day. But we do have time, so make sure you take your time to do excellent work. This is Mr. Eaton. I'll talk to you later. God bless.